Whenever anyone talks about the greatest games ever made, the usual names pop up. Red Dead Redemption, Zelda, Mario, but I think one game which always gets mentioned is the Half-Life series. Now I have been a video gamer for most of my life, but I think I missed out on the hype that the Half-Life series had. It wasn't until I made the full change over to PC gaming that I really began to hear what everyone was saying about Half-Life. So it probably won't come as a shock to you that I have never played any of the Half-Life series. So today I'm rectifying that and playing the Half-Life series. For those who don't know, Half-Life is a first-person shooter game developed by Valve in 1998 and was Valve's debut game. You take the role of Gordon Freeman, a scientist who must escape from the Black Mesa research facility after a science experiment goes wrong. Now it's important to understand what the gaming industry was like when Half-Life was released in 1998. The FPS genre mainly consisted of shooting galleries or run and gun games with minimal story, and Valve, being the company they are, were disappointed in the lack of innovation, and so they aimed to create a game that was an immersive world and relied on the player to discover things themselves with no interruption to the player experience. And this included how the story is told, which is mainly through scripted sequences rather than cutscenes. From the beginning, I could tell something was going to make this playthrough difficult, and that was the movement. I guess in modern games, the movement is a lot slower. You have your walking speed, and then you hold a button to sprint, which is dependent on the character's stamina. But this game's normal walking speed is so quick, it almost feels like you are running constantly, and I will admit I found it hard to control. You can hold shift if you're playing on computer to walk slower, which I did a lot, but many times I'd feel like I'm skating around the place on ice, which led to many deaths falling off the edge, and it took me a while to get used to it. I would also like to say, whilst I'm on about things that I found annoying in this game, that the ladder system annoys the hell out of me. I played thousands of hours of Counter-Strike, and as soon as I went on a ladder, I knew instantly I was in for a rough ride. The amount of times I got annoyed in Counter-Strike for not being able to jump off a ladder correctly, this game just brought back dark memories of those times. I know that obviously they are made by the same company, but my god they are annoying. These especially annoy me. They are impossible to get on, and when you get on, almost impossible to get off without flinging yourself off. But I made exceptions, because this is an old game, and I knew that it wouldn't be streamlined for players like modern games. It definitely has some of the most fluid player movement in any game I played recently, and doesn't feel like you are carrying around so much weight. And maybe that is down to the time it was released, when shooting games were all about movement and the run and gun gameplay style, like Doom or Quake. One thing I will say that impressed me with this game is a number of weapons and a number of different type of enemies you face. Coming in with, I would say, a slightly naive view, I thought a game made in 1998 would have the basic 4 types of weapons: the melee, the pistol, the shotgun, and the rifle. But this game kept on surprising me. It seems like most new areas you explored, you picked up a new type of weapon or grenades. You went from the first weapon you get, the trusty crowbar, which luckily I had a lot of practice with from playing Gary's mod, to ending up with weapons that were designed by the scientists in the compound, like the glue-on gun and whatever the hell this thing is. And it wasn't like they just created loads of weapons just for the sake of it. Each weapon had a reason to be there when fighting the aliens or soldiers. The MP5 was good against soldiers, the glue-on gun was good against the aliens, and of course the HECU RPG was good against tanks. But even if you use any weapon against any enemy, the variety of weapons made the game interesting, and in the end you will need lots of weapons to fight the enemies, because there is lots of different types of them. Overall, there are 14 different types of Zen aliens, 2 types of soldiers, and assassins. What is most impressive are the alien enemies. There is so much variety in them, and no two are the same. They each have their own attacks, which makes fighting them so much more interesting, and makes you more aware as a player as to what weapon you use against what enemy. Or if you're like me and see an alien grunt running towards you, you use any weapon you can to kill it. These combined, the weapons and the enemy variety, I think takes this game from a mediocre game to a great game. It levels it up. I know, being marketed as a shooting game, you would expect different types of weapons to use against different types of enemies. But this game does it to great effect, and the fact that it is an old game as well makes it even more impressive. I mean, if you compare it to modern games now, most would only have 5 to 6 different types of weapons, and many of them are just variations of the main 3 weapons: the pistol, the rifle, the shotgun. And even if these modern games did include a lot of weapons, the type of enemies you would face would then become the same, and make the number of weapons pointless. There have been countless games recently which provide the player with different weapons, or provide the player with modifications that they could do on the weapons, which I personally find a waste of time. I want to be provided with different types of weapons to use, which each have their own unique abilities. Instead of crafting a pistol so it has a silencer on, or better rate of fire, or crafting explosive arrows or sleeping arrows. Like, it adds a bit to the game, but it doesn't use the innovation that Half-Life did by coming up with new ideas for new weapons. Half-Life creates variety in the gameplay, creates a longer shelf life for a game, and adds the replayability option. I think it's one of the main reasons why this game has been said to be one of the greatest games ever made, and still to this day has people playing it. And whilst playing, there were continuous updates, which just amazes me. For a game released in 1998, to still have a company releasing updates for it. Now, even though I have just said how good it is, having lots of different weapons and enemies, because of this, it took me a long time to get used to what weapons are more efficient against certain aliens. And I'll be honest and say, I die a lot in this game. This game is not easy. There is a difficulty setting, but I didn't realise this until the end of the game. Creatures will jump out at you, explosive boxes whose writing is sometimes hard to read will blow you up, and you will walk around a corner and see 3 sentry guns pointing at you, and in my case look like a rabbit caught in headlights. Now you can avoid dying of course by getting health items and shield items, but let me tell you, there is never enough health items. I was very rarely, if ever, on full health and full shield, but I do think because of that, it raised the stakes a bit higher when playing. You can get health by going to any of the health stations you find dotted around the place, but you really have to search for them, and they only give you 50 health points, so they are a blessing, but not what I expected, as I thought it would heal you to full health. Now you'll probably see a lot of wooden crates around, and for those who have played this game will be shouting at the screen for me to break them open with a crowbar. I did not realise you could do this until much later, and didn't realise that inside was health and ammo, which is why I died a lot of the times at the start. So for anyone wanting to play this game, hit every crate you can find. But I think that brings me on to my next point. There is no tutorial. Nothing to say what buttons to press unless you look at the controls in the settings. Nothing to say where the health stations are. No map. Nothing saying hit wooden crates to get health and ammo. So you are ending up having to guess what buttons you press to open doors, which is conveniently E as the interact button on PC, like all new games. But it doesn't tell you what doors can or can't be opened. It is down to the player to try out every single door, which in the beginning I did. It is also down to the player to explore every place to see what secrets they hold, whether it being ammo or health or shield, or listening to conversations between scientists, or see a person in a suit. This does make the game more immersive for the player, and I think that is what Valve wanted to do. It wanted to create a game where the player doesn't have any distractions, or anything telling them what to do or how to play the game. They drop you in and say good luck, which can bring about some of the best experiences you can have as a player. And talking about experiences, this video game story is an experience and a half, and yes, that is me spamming E and accidentally burning up a microwave. Another cool thing I would like to say about this game quickly, before we move on to the next section, is the followers mechanic. What I found pretty interesting, if you press E to a scientist or a soldier, they will follow you around and help you out, which I didn't expect from this game, and was a cool little feature they added. I mean, they are mostly useless, but cool to see the follower system put into such an old game. Also, scientists will heal you if you are on low health, which is another cool feature, and yes, I will mention health a lot, because it really was a struggle to manage my health. Anyway, back to the story. This game does not hold your hand, and coming from new games which have a mini-map or guidance quest marker showing you where you have to go and what your next objective is, it took me a while to get used to it. It really makes you listen to every conversation you have with NPCs, because they will tell you what you have to do, and the main way the story is told, with little to no cutscenes. Many times I would sit there and listen to a conversation between scientists, and you learn something else about the story or the lore, but they won't make it obvious. It is a normal conversation, which does make it more immersive as a player. As you can see in the first mission, something as simple as putting on a hazard suit and reporting to the scientists. It took me ages, mainly because I didn't listen to the scientists at the start, so I completely forgot that was what I was meant to do. But it didn't help also that you were free to walk around wherever you want to go, and I got lost and sidetracked many times just in the first mission, which I did not expect at all from this game. I thought it would be a very linear story with an obvious path you follow. The story itself builds on you. At the beginning I didn't really know what was going on. Yes, I knew there had been an explosion and aliens had come into the world through a dimensional rift, but apart from that I didn't really know what I was meant to be doing. But then as you play the game more, and I started to actually listen in to the conversations, I began to get invested into the story. You're an associate level worker who's gotten thrown into a rough situation, and you have to fight your way out of it. The scientists and security staff begin to rely on you. They ask for your help in getting to the service and to get help. But when you get there and find that the hazardous environment combat unit are coming in to kill all personnel inside, you have to travel to the Lambda sector to try and shut down the rift, and then eventually travel to an alien world to kill the big alien boss, the Nihilinth, as that is the only way to close the dimensional rift. I mean, the story can be called basic by some people, but I think it does get you involved on a level that you want to continue playing. You want to escape, and then you want to help the scientists stuck in the building, and eventually you do want to help stop the aliens from coming into the world. The pacing is good. Every time you feel like you get to the end of a section, and the game may finish, it throws something else at you, and not in an annoying way like new games do, where it becomes a chore. The story flows in a natural way. It has the shooting parts where you're fighting for your life, it has the puzzle parts where you have to use your brain, or the parts where you get so lost you end up backtracking across half the map to try and figure out where the hell you're meant to be going. But I think that is what is so great about this game. It doesn't hold your hand. You feel like you've accomplished something every time you figure out a puzzle, or get past a difficult section on low ammo and health, and the reward at the end, finding a health item, feels so much better than, to be honest, any other game I have played recently. And this game does that by doing something so simple. It gives the player complete freedom and control. It doesn't cuddle you when you're low on health and drop health packs everywhere. You have to search for them. You have to take the initiative as a player to manage your health. You can't carry health items, so you can't have multiple stored up in case you get low on health. The game doesn't force tips or hints down your throat like new games. And when you manage to figure out a puzzle, or even as simple as where you were meant to go, the feeling of accomplishment is 1,000 times better than what I feel in any modern game lately. I mean, just imagine if the game God of War, not that I am picking on this game, it is an amazing game, but just imagine if it didn't hold your hand, and you yourself figured out a puzzle. You would feel like you accomplished something, and make the game more rewarding playing it. You figured it out. You control a character. It feels like you are more immersed in the game, more immersed in the world, and things aren't planned out ahead of you. You are deciding your character's destiny and story. And I think seeing something like that nowadays is priceless, and this game does it so well. When talking about the greatest video games ever made, people say the classics like Red Dead Redemption, Zelda and Mario, and I am now happy to say I can see why people mention Half-Life. This game, which was created in 1998 by the way, still holds up to this day. Yes, the graphics are old, but the core gameplay mechanics and the story, the main parts of a video game, are excellent, and it really was a joy to play. It says in the wiki bio that this game revolutionised first-person shooter games and inspired many fan-made mods, some of which became standalone games such as Counter-Strike, and I'm just grateful that Valve way back in 1998 decided to take the leap and try something unheard of, try a new idea or a new style for FPS, and that it worked out, so that I could now in 2024 play this game for the first time. It felt like I was transported back to my youth, playing a game that left a lasting impact on me, and I hope this video makes you want to play this game as well, or to revisit it if you have played it, because you are missing out like I was, and that is something you don't want to do. Thank you all for watching the video, and for those who made it to the end, thank you. This is my first type of video like this, so please let me know what you think about it in the comments, and please like and subscribe. I cannot wait now to play Half-Life 2, so expect that video to be coming soon.